Welcome into the CBS Sports College Football Picks Show. I'm your host, Richard Johnson. I'm joined by my running back, Emory Hunt, my quarterback, Cardale Jones. I'm just the offensive lineman. I'm blocking here, trying to keep my guys clean. Let's get into all the picks for your college football weekend. We'll start with the news that will affect your gambling weekend, and we will start with Clemson and SMU. Fellas, Cade Klubnik nursing a bump and a bruise heading into this game. He is listed as questionable against SMU. The Tigers are 5.5-point favorite. He's been dealing with an ankle injury that's been hampering him all week. We talk about this game. Cardale, I want to go to you first. Cade Klubnik is a mobile quarterback. You yourself, obviously, a mobile quarterback, a star mobile quarterback, if I have that correct. What is it like when you've got an injury like this? You're hampered, your mobility is hampered, and even if Cade Klubnik can go, he may be forced to stick in the pocket a little bit more than he might like to.
Yeah, the great thing about Cade Klubnik is that he is a dual threat quarterback. When I'm talking about dual threat, I'm more so referring to being able to get it done in the pocket and outside the pocket. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a +1 in the running game, where Clemson love to call design quarterback runs. But what makes him so deadly is the off-schedule plays that he's been doing for his time at Clemson. Is where no one is open and he's able to extend with his legs and find a guy downfield or get the necessary yards to keep the drive going. That's going to continue to limit him with an ankle injury because that's going to put him at more risk for being hurt longer than what he needs to be. So if I'm Clemson and I'm Clemson fans, I'm not too much worried about it, but clearly that's something in the back of my mind as a quarterback that's going to be lingering as, I don't want to continue to push it too hard where it's going to delay that recovery process.
Emory, we just flashed that schedule up on the screen. Look, it's been a soft couple weeks for Clemson. I had one bye week, North Carolina spiritually, another bye week, and then they played Boston College as well. Now it turns up for Clemson in the meat of this ACC schedule. If they are going to make a run, potentially at a dark horse ACC title bid, potentially the college football playoff, an outside chance, obviously, it's got to start now. You've got to come out in this SMU game. You've got to beat SMU. You've got to dominate SMU, and you're going to have to win the rest of the way.
You're going to have to dominate SMU, like you said, because this is a football team that lost that game in the ACC championship game last year to the same Clemson team. And this is a bad spot for Clemson to face this particular SMU group because Jennings is playing phenomenal at quarterback for the Mustangs. And also with the injury concerns of Klubnik coming into this matchup, they couldn't have drawn SMU at the worst possible time to try to go on a run for the playoffs. But you're right, they have to not only win, but we know style points matter nowadays. It always has mattered. It matters even more so when you're at Clemson with all those losses they have on the schedule. So they have to win in an emphatic way against SMU.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with SMU and how they've been oriented this season, Kevin Jennings running a little bit less than you might think. So against Baylor, he ran the ball, I think, like 14 times in that game. But other than that, he's kind of been a pocket passer this season. It's one of those situations where SMU is going to have to figure out they can protect. One of the things that I've been most disappointed with Clemson this season is that defensive line that we thought was going to be so good just has not lived up to the expectation. Maybe they can get right here. All right, moving on to the Big 12. Sam Leavitt, Arizona State's quarterback who did not go last week in the blowout loss against Utah, is probable to go against Texas Tech. They are absolutely going to need him in this game because the Red Raiders come in with as much firepower as any team in the nation, not just the Big 12. Emory, it's been an odd kind of passing game for Arizona State so far this season. Only Jordan Tyson really is the only pass catcher that you're really targeting for Arizona State, and the only one that you're really getting any production from, and that's whether Sam Leavitt's in the game or not.
I'm not going to hold y'all. I don't care if they had Sam Leavitt, Sam Cook, or Sam I Am. This is a Texas Tech team that's a legit train coming down the track, man. And so, yes, you need Sam Leavitt, and Jordan Tyson, to your point, has been outstanding for them. It's shocking because this was my preseason pick to win the Big 12. I'm talking about Arizona State, but they haven't played like it because they hadn't been consistent. And that Mississippi State game kind of exposed some of the warts that they have on that roster. And now with the Sam Leavitt that is now listed as probable, maybe he'll play, maybe he won't play. He won't be 100%, let's put it that way. But this Texas Tech defense, my goodness, they look outstanding, money well spent. They can get to the quarterback. They can close out ball games. And on offense, we know they can get a nice lead, a nice cushion for the defenses to go out there and eat, which I think will happen in this game against Arizona State.
Yeah, for Arizona State, Jordan Tyson has been targeted 76 times this season. The next most targets for any pass catcher on Arizona State is running back Raleek Brown with 25 targets. It's just a passing game that runs through Jordan Tyson no matter what for Arizona State. Cardale, what do you think that says about the Sun Devils? Do you think it's maybe a lack of trust in the other receivers? Do you think it's something where they're just not seeing enough from those receivers in practice and nobody's getting open? What's going on here with these Sun Devils?
I mean, I think when you're talking about a huge disparity of targets, definitely, and then production of your receiver room, is remind me of Penn State last year with Tyler Warren, where he was Mr. Everything once the ball wasn't into one of those two running backs' hands. And this is the same thing we're seeing right now in Arizona State, where you don't see it consistent enough from the other guys to make you feel comfortable of putting them in position to see if they can live up to the hype or come up big when their number is called. Like some of these. Like when you're talking about throwing to a guy who's proven at this point at the season. So I think it's a compass of everything involved, of not showing up through practice through Monday through Friday, and then clearly on game days as well.
Texas Tech 5-1 against the spread so far this season. They have been one of the best teams in the country, not just the Big 12. Have their own issues, though, with quarterback injury. Baron Morton nursing a leg injury. He's been knocked out of 3 games this season. But Texas Tech loves what they have in backup quarterback Will Hammond so far this season. This Texas Tech team, an absolute buzzsaw. Emory, dollar bill, y'alls. This is what the money is for.
Yeah, listen, if you got Texas money that, tax-free state tax money, like your money can go a long way. And it's going a long way in Lubbock. And the cool part about it is not that just been throwing money at anybody. They went out and got great talent with the money that they've spent. And now you're seeing that manifest itself on the field. So you got to credit the boosters for making it happen, but you also got to credit the coaches for getting the right type of talent in here and cultivating a scheme around both sides of the ball that allows them to go out there and play their best brand of football. To be honest, we hadn't seen this type of Texas Tech football team since Spike Dykes. And when they were running the football with Bam Morris, that defense with Zach Thomas and company was just running roughshod of the Southwest Conference. So this looks really good for Texas Tech. Not just a team that could win the Big 12, but could win multiple games in the postseason.
Texas Tech has not trailed all season, one of 2 teams in FBS, top 10 scoring offense and scoring defense. It's the 3rd Saturday in October, fellas. That means Alabama is playing Tennessee. Smoke them if you got them. Jam Miller, probable versus Tennessee in this game. In my opinion, Cardale, Alabama needs Jam Miller. They have to have him. The running attack without Jam Miller is just nowhere near what it is with him. Had a collarbone injury earlier in the season. Now he's been in concussion protocol all week. Again, probable to go against Tennessee. Quickly here for the Tide, presuming that Jam Miller plays, what do you think about Alabama's offense in this matchup?
It's become more balanced. It's clear. One thing you cannot do is play a great Tennessee team like this and be one-dimensional. We know how great Ty Simpsons has been playing over the last, pretty much since the Florida State loss. He's been playing at a Heisman type of caliber, but you can't play too many SEC opponents and be one-dimensional because we know how tough this schedule is going to be. Jalen Miller is going to be that equalizer for these guys. At worst, just to keep the Tennessee defense honest about potentially running the ball instead of dropping back and trying to pass 85% of the time.
Alabama 4-1-1 against the spread, pushed Missouri 3-point spread last week. Emory, best 2 quarterbacks in the SEC here, Joey Aguilar and Ty Simpson. What do you think about that?
I would say I'll throw Taylor Green in there too, because I'm a big Taylor Green fan of how he plays. He's got to protect the football. But looking at Jam Miller and how he's running his ball, he has to look at last week at that Arkansas game and was like, man, I should have a huge day running against the Tennessee defense because, to Cardale's point, it makes things a lot easier for Ty Simpson, who has done a great job in protecting the football. He'll have those opportunities to go deep down the field. Tennessee wants to make this a one-dimensional game, but with Jam Miller, it now makes Ty Simpson a live player in his ball game to throw for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, and minimal mistakes.
We're going to take a quick break here on the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. When we come back, let's talk Game of the Week. Ole Miss, Georgia. Welcome back to the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. Here's your picks update entering Week Emory leading the pack here. Good week last year, but Brad Crawford, man, he's not here with us this week, but my guy wins. That is all he does. I am trying to get back to the Mendoza line, trying to get back to 500. That push last week with Alabama really hurt me. Cardale, we got you, man, this week. Come on now.
I got some work to do.
Come on now, brother. Come on now. Georgia and Ole Miss, game of the week. Third year in a row, these two teams have met. It's the battle of pick your favorite Nick Saban assistant, I guess. Last year, big storyline was, frankly, Georgia's offensive line was not up to par against what Ole Miss had on the defensive front. Again, this year, that's something of a storyline. Juan Gaston, Ernest Green, probable in this game for Georgia for their offensive linemen. But again, these are two different teams, but it was a 28-10 win last year for Ole Miss. Emory, before we get to the picks in this game, let's talk about this matchup. Ole Miss struggled last week against Washington State. I don't know if that's a look-ahead spot. Maybe they were game planning for the team a little bit further out. What do you make of that performance last week, sluggish from the Rebels?
I do feel like it's a look-ahead spot juxtaposed to what we've seen Washington State do all throughout the season, getting blown out, all throughout their whole schedule. So, yeah, it was a look-ahead spot, but credit to the Cougars for making it a game. I like how Trinidad Chambliss found a way to stay the course and came out on the other side successful. So that shows you a little bit of resolve for an Ole Miss team, because to be completely honest, this is the type of game, or last week was the type of game that a team in Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin would have easily lost. So I think this is a different team from a mentality standpoint. I love how they were able to rebound and respond and come out with the victory. But when you look at this matchup, I do think that this team is kind of looking at last year's matchup like, hey, man, we did it last year. We got confidence to go in there and do it again. This time, I think they're a little bit more confident in their actions as opposed to maybe what they were last year.
Ole Miss's third 6-0 start since the FBS era began of college football in 1978. This Georgia team, they are a tale of two halves, Cardale. In that first half, you can kind of get at them a little bit, but in the second half, they clamp down on defense. I think the second half Georgia defense looks a lot like those 2021, 2022 Georgia defenses that were just so dominant, piloted the Dogs to back-to-back national titles.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this has been Georgia Achilles' heel, especially against that team down in Tuscaloosa, starting extremely slow, putting themselves in position where it's almost impossible to dig out that hole in the second half. But consistency is key for this team. If they can start fast, they are a really good second half team. So they can reverse the roles of putting you in the hole that you cannot dig out of. And one thing about Ole Miss, one scary thing about Ole Miss to me is that they have a unique ability to sometimes play down to their talent. Hence the game, the dogfight last week versus Washington State. You can't do that versus this Georgia team. You just cannot do that, especially on the road led by Kirby Smart, this guy up here on the screen, where we know what he is going to bring every single snap with this Georgia team for his tough defense. Ole Miss can do a great job protecting the football and capitalizing on their opportunities, because Georgia's going to try to limit them as much as possible.
I'll tell you this, as far as Georgia and Ole Miss are concerned, Ole Miss better be ready and not hit that clap cadence, because you never know. Kirby going to be running on the sideline, trying to call a timeout. You know how it's going to go. I thought Auburn last week really let the adversity get to them as far as the referees and the bad calls, all that sort of stuff. And Georgia really showed that they're a dominant team and that they're a team that they're never frazzled. They can take your best shot and they can give it right back. Emory, what have you seen so far from Gunnar Stockton? Look, it's an offense that it's a lot of screens, but then it also goes deep with deep shots. And you say what you want, Stockton's able to hit those, but he's also able to give you a little bit of mobility. You saw the Superman dive for the touchdown last week against Auburn.
I remember we had this conversation last year about Gunnar Stockton. We had to step in for Carson Beck, and I was like, listen, I became a fan of his versus Texas because he went in there like Joe Kane from the program, got knocked out, but still got them in position to score the game-winning touchdown. And you look at how he's played. This year, he's honestly playing a lot like Stetson Bennett played for them. So he's someone that's a gamer, and it seems like when the game gets tough, he's able to lock in and make some plays above the X's and O's. And that's all you need right now in college football, someone that's going to do their 111th, but also give you a little bit more when the situation calls for it. That's why I do feel like they've been able to win some of these high-leverage games because of Gunnar Stockton playing a lot like Stetson Bennett.
Cardale, as far as Ole Miss is concerned, Trinidad Chambliss has been a breath of fresh air, I should say, as a story in college football. This Ferris State transfer that, quite frankly, Ole Miss didn't know that he was going to be this good. He steps in for Austin Simmons, and they haven't really announced it, but you kind of think he's the guy now for them at quarterback at Ole Miss.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he has that Cinderella story, that we all, fell in love with a guy like Baker Mayfield over, his journey to stardom and things like that. And the biggest thing between him and Simmons is that he's protecting the football on a completely different spectrum where Simmons was in the first 3 games of the season. So he's given this offense a chance to be explosive. And he's giving his offense a chance to be dominant, and he gives his offense a chance for that +1 in the run game. We talk about the quarterback as well. I think he had 2 touchdowns last week versus the Cougars on the ground and made some big plays when nothing was downfield. So he's definitely giving this team a breath of fresh air and the best opportunity to win these big games.
Ole Miss 4-2 against the spread so far this season. Georgia 2-4 so far against the spread. So look, something's got to give in this game. All right, let's pick it real quick. Frankly, I'm going to go to the total in this game. I'm going to take this total under 54.5. I think at the end of the day, Georgia's defense, especially in the second half, Ole Miss may very well come out with a fast start. I think that is very much in the equation. Lane Kiffin loves to dial it up. And again, just like Emory was telling you, a little bit of a look-ahead spot last week against Washington State. So expect a little bit of razzle-dazzle from Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss in the first half, and then Georgia clamps down. I don't think Georgia's an outfit, really, that you're expecting to score more than 30 points in this game anyway, if even that. I take this game under that 54.5 number.
Yeah, I will say this, on the road, you kind of want to pack certain things if you're Ole Miss. You want to pack your run game, pack your defense, and you play in Georgia, you probably should pack your own refs too, right? So I will say this, though, for Ole Miss. This was the game last year that kind of got things jump-started for them. Remember how we kind of became fans of Austin Simmons with how well he played when he stepped in for Jackson Dart, who got knocked out, then came back in the ball game? Well, now this game takes place in Athens, and we'll see if what we saw last year kind of, rings true in terms of, hey, we now believe we can go in there and beat these guys because we did it last year. So I do like Ole Miss plus the points here. This is just a reactionary line for what happened last week. They are much better than they played last week. We know this. Therefore, this line should be a lot closer. It should be a 3-point game or even a pick 'em. But I will take Ole Miss plus the points here, getting that value.
You know what? I got Georgia covered on this one because ultimately this can potentially have a playoff implication for Georgia. I would even say a playoff game for Georgia because you drop to this early in the season with already a rigorous schedule coming up in the SEC. You're going to be behind the 8 ball. I just don't see them dropping 2 at home this point of the season. So I got them covering, coming out and making a statement. I mean, 7.5 points is a lot of points when you talk about this matchup, but I think Georgia will get this done, 10 plus. Between that 10 to 13-point win.
We are excited for that game. It's the game of the week. When we come back from the break on the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show, we're coming at you with the Blitz. A pick whip around from us next. Welcome back in the CBS Sports College Football Picks Show. We got picks for you. It's the Blitz segment where we whip around and we go all across the board for this college football weekend. I will start us off, fellas. I don't know if you paid attention, but the vibes on the plains are as bad as they come. Missouri is a good football team, and they're playing an Auburn team that's got all kinds of noise coming from that program. Got Hugh Freeze a little bit on the rocks, talking about one of his running backs didn't meet the expectation, and you got other players in the locker room putting out stuff on social media, talking about how we love him. It's terrible vibes, and because of that, Missouri goes in and gets the job done in this game, and they cover 1.5.
I like that one, Rich. I think the vibes are definitely off with them, but I'm going to go ahead on and focus on the game tonight. The Miami game versus Louisville that you're going to be at. I will lay the 13.5 points with the Hurricanes. The reason why I trust them versus Louisville, who can also score, Miami's defense will be enough to where they can steal 2 possessions away, which will create that separation here for the Hurricanes to cover this double-digit point spread against the Cardinals.
Man, I like that pick, Emory, but it's tough coming off a bye week for me to feel as comfortable as you with that. So I'm going to take my talents in the MAC, give you a little bit of that action Ball State -1 this week. Ball State has been looking really good ever since they upset one of the MAC's favorites to go back-to-back for the MAC championship in Ohio University about 2 weeks ago. So Ball State -1 this weekend.
Fellas, I don't know if you guys realized the Vanderbilt and LSU line, this game crossed favorites. It started out with LSU being favored in the game. Now it's all the way up to Vanderbilt -2.5. I like it because I like the doors. Give me Vanderbilt -2.5. I think at the end of the day, Vanderbilt, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, probably too physical up front for LSU to handle, particularly for LSU's offensive line, which has left a lot to be desired so far this season. Yeah, LSU's great on defense. I understand that, but give me the doors -2.5 against LSU.
The last time Vanderbilt was rated higher than, I'm talking about favored over LSU, and then Duke favored over Georgia Tech, we probably was up, 30 states back then, right? We didn't have all the states yet. So this is just crazy to me. Georgia Tech is America's team, got America's quarterback. They were my preseason pick to win the ACC. So I need this win for my agenda, and I also need this win because it's the right pick. Give me Georgia Tech on the money line versus Duke.
You know, I got to piggyback with you on this one. And this was so weird to see this spread. And Emory hit on it a little bit about LSU being favored in the week now and Vandy all the way up to 2.5. This is another one that don't make sense for me. But for security purposes, I'm taking Tech +1.5. But I do think they go into Duke Stadium and get it done. But like you said, Hayes Kings, he's playing really well right now. I'm looking forward to the ACC matchup, hopefully, that we all want with Georgia Tech and Miami at the end of the year.
Let me tell you something about the troops. Last year, that Tulane team, Emory Hunt's Tulane Green Wave, you thought that, hey, Tulane was rolling, they were a shoe into the college football playoff, and they clunked at the end of that season, and one of the games they lost was against Army. This year, I think this Tulane team is kind of a little bit trending off name only. They do not run the ball very well, besides quarterback Jake Retzlaff. They do not control games physically, and that's a bad combination when you go up against this Army team. Give me Army +9.5 against the Green Wave.
Quiet as kept. Arizona's been playing really solid football this year, man. Even Noah Fafita has kind of rebounded from what we saw last year. He's playing like he did 2 seasons ago. And because of that, I do like them to go into Houston and knock out the Cougars. Now, again, it is not bear down, Desert Swarm defense of Arizona, but it's good enough to where they can go out there and get the win. At this short number right here, I'm going to trust Arizona to get the job done at the end of the game.
Another cross-country matchup in the Big Ten, as the Big Ten has turned to pretty much the Big 18 or whatever, how many teams in the league right now. But at this point, I'm loving this Washington +5.5 versus a Michigan offense that's very one-dimensional. And unfortunately, Bryce Underwood hasn't been able to push the ball downfield at a consistent level where you can say, hey, we need to worry about this. Washington comes in and play 8, 9, maybe even 10 guys in a box, and we know what they're able to do with Williams III on that offensive side of the ball, Williams Jr. on the offensive side of the ball, and the problems he presents to any defense in the country.
Cardale and I were watching that Michigan game last week against USC, just disappointed with Michigan's inability to push USC around. I like that pick here in this game from you, Cardale. All right, I know you're going to like this pick from me. Ohio State Buckeyes -27 over Wisconsin. Fellas, I just don't think Wisconsin's going to score in this game. I mean, they're down to QB3 against one of, if not the best defenses in college football. This Matt Patricia coordinated, Caleb Downs-led Ohio State defense. Caden Curry up front, an absolute force, although Reese on the second level, as good as they come with linebackers in college football. Love what Ohio State's doing right now. I doubted them coming into the season. I doubt her no longer. Ohio State covers -27 because I just don't think Wisconsin has it right now. And Luke Fickell himself on the ropes as far as his tenure is concerned.
Man, Ohio State going to put Wisconsin on their float and have those dudes like parade around like, yo, we about to beat the brakes off y'all. Listen, speaking of a good job doing it in terms of coaching, Jim Moore Jr. has it figured out. You go to an underrated program with low expectations, and you build a consistent winner. We're talking about UConn looking like a team that's going to go to back-to-back bowl games for the first time since 08-09. He's done a magnificent job with the Huskies. I think they go to Boston College and knock out, the Eagles. They're underdogs in this ball game. Boston College can't play defense. UConn can run the ball. They're a very good quarterback as well, and they can play defense. This line should be flipped. They should be favored. I like UConn to go out there and get the win at plus money.
Richard, I love the comparison you talk about Ohio State, but I'm going to give you a Mike Leach phrase right here. Cardale Jones ain't walking down that tunnel, Luke Fickle. I know you guys got experience with winning some big games with a third-string quarterback, but Cardale Jones ain't walking down that tunnel, Luke Fickle. I like it. So I'm going to stay in the Big Ten. Iowa, -3 over at Penn State. Penn State is traveling to Iowa to play this game, and even with a healthy starting quarterback in Drew Aller, I know he's out for the season, and with your coach, I would still take Iowa in this situation right here. But all the things they got to overcome, Penn State, new quarterback, new coach, intern head coach, and also traveling across the country. Iowa is a tough place to play. Take me Iowa -3.
Man, you don't know what kind of razzle-dazzle Penn State is going to bring in this game. Offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, new quarterback, as Cardale is saying. But yeah, yes, I like that pick. Iowa clamping down. All right, I'm going to take you to the G5 matchup of the week, quite frankly. Old Dominion, James Madison. If you don't know anything about Bob Chesney, James Madison's head coach, you better learn a little something. You think Kurt Cignetti's hot? Well, the guy who took over for him with the Dukes has this program cooking, and they're cooking even though Kurt Cignetti took all their best players, and you can see them on the Big Ten All-American list last season. This quarterback situation, a little funky. Alonzo Barnett, Matthew Sluka, they sort of a two-headed monster at quarterback, but I love what the Dukes do from a talent perspective. And look, this is a situation where Chesney has gone up against the coaches at Old Dominion when they were at Fordham a lot. You like that FCS shout-out, Emory? Because of that, I think Bob Chesney and Old Dominion and the Dukes, James Madison and the Dukes, get it done in this game and cover the number.
Man, somebody come get Chesney up out the Sun Belt Conference, man, because I'm tired of looking at him winning with my cages out there. I can't get past the fact that they got JMU rolling right now. But listen, Temple versus Charlotte. Everything keeps coming up Philadelphia for me. Fresh Prince over the baby, or Lil Baby, one of those babies. And then you look at, Pat's Cheesesteaks over Bojangles, Eagles over the Panthers. Like, everything just comes up Philly over Charlotte. So lay the 11.5 points with Casey Keeler's crew and the Temple Owls over Charlotte. They'll go down there, do a great job. They won't get too big off Bojangles. They'll beat the brakes off the 49ers and go right back to Philly with a win.
I got Texas Tech out in the Big 12 covering this spread versus Arizona State. Arizona State having so many issues, not knowing if the quarterback is going to be healthy enough to play in this game or not. And I think what's worse than being a one-dimensional offense, which I'm saying they're not, is having just one guy you like to throw the ball to. And Texas Tech's defense is just too good for that. Top 10 defense, top 10 offense of all of college football. Texas Tech get this one done easily with that -7 over Arizona State.
Those Red Raiders are rolling, Cardale. You got that right. We're rolling on here on the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. When we come back from the break, we're going to give out some underdog picks on the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. Welcome back to the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. Let's talk underdog picks, fellas. Today, Emory and I are on the same accord here with our underdog picks, so we'll go back and forth a little bit on this pick here. UNLV, money line, versus Boise State. I don't know if you saw this week, fellas, but Dan Mullen came out and said about as emphatically as it can get that he will be back as UNLV's head coach next season. Did not mince any words, did not say, my agent handles that stuff, didn't say any of that stuff. Said, I'm coming back to be the head coach of this team next year. UNLV is a really interesting team because they really struggled early in the season. I mean, they almost lost to Idaho State week 0 at home. It was an incredible matchup. An incredible result for them, but they have gotten it rolling a little bit, found it with Anthony Colandrea at quarterback. Because of that, I'm taking UNLV to upset Boise State. Emory, with UNLV and especially with Boise State, what Boise State has up front coming back from last year just have not reloaded to the extent that you expected them to. And I don't think they're going to be able to handle UNLV in this spot. UNLV springs the upset and wins as an underdog.
I'm laughing because Dan, he came out, Dan Mullen came out and said that emphatically, like, bro, nobody asked you, dog. Like, nobody was checking. Like, I was like, hey, me and Halle Berry are not dating. Like, bro, nobody, what are you talking about, right? So, and also, when he came out with this double-digit point spread, I'm like, wait a minute. Did UNLV stop playing football? How is this undefeated team double-digit underdogs against a Boise team that got pushed around up front in the run game against everybody they've played. And so what you're going to see from this Rebels offense is them running the football with those sprinkle of the explosive big play in the passing game and the defense that swarms around the football. The other team should be underdogs, Boise, and UNLV should be favored by double digits, especially coming off a bye. So, yes, I like them straight up on the money line.
Cardale.
This is crazy.
Sorry, go ahead, Cardale. Go ahead.
It's crazy, guys. We talked about crazy spreads earlier with the LSU and Vandy, and then with the Georgia Tech and Duke. And this is another one I cannot wrap my mind around. I love that for that pick, guys. UNLV all day, but I am going to go to the Big 12 with Utah over BYU. Every year, this matchup is insane. I'm guarantee you, one team, Utah's going to wear their all red, BYU's going to wear their all blue. You know, you might want to turn your brightness down on your TV to really pay attention to the game. But I think what Utah offers and bringing in a +1 running game is going to be a difference maker here. I got Utah with the upset.
Yeah, guys, the Holy War is one of the nastier rivalries, and I say that in a complimentary fashion, in college football. You may not be paying attention to it, but these two teams hate each other with a capital H. And what I think is really interesting about it, like Cardale, you're so familiar with the rivalry that, you know, you think about the other team 365 days a year with Ohio State and Michigan. But Utah and BYU is a lot like that as well. What is that like? Because, you know, everybody, you always want to say, well, you know, every opponent's a fresh opponent. Every week's a new week on it. But, like, look, at the end of the day, when you've got a rival like Ohio State has Michigan and Utah has BYU, it's always on your mind, right?
100%. And then I think when you lead up to those weeks, and it's pretty cool that we get one of these historically great rivalries mid-season of college football, all the records go out the window, all of the recruiting stats, all of everything go out the window, because usually we're going to see someone that we're not used to talking about come up big in rivalry games. And I expect nothing less than this weekend from a player from the BYU side or the Utah side. But I'm still taking my underdog pick with Utah winning this game.
Emory, Utah, quite frankly, has a lot to prove in this game, I think, because against Texas Tech, they were just physically inferior. And for a Kyle Whittingham team, they're rarely, if ever, lately, physically dominated like they were in that game.
Right, and that's why this game is so interesting, because we know BYU is built like Utah, might be even better in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So that's why this one is so fascinating, because Utah has to figure out a way to overcome the lack of trench warfare that they don't have this particular season. And that quarterback, even though I'm a big fan of Dampier and what he has been able to do, he has to play better in these type of ball games, these real high leverage ball games, which we hadn't seen so far this season. So this is going to be a fascinating game. This would be my pick for the overtime game of the week. And I think this one goes into extra quarters out there on the field.
Emory, you think BYU's been getting away with it at all this season so far today? That was the story with them last year, in my opinion.
I think so, because you start a freshman quarterback and you look at, nobody has really been checking for BYU like they were last year or even the year before. They've kind of been flying under the radar despite playing really good football on both sides. So yeah, this is an opportunity for them to step up and say, hey man, like, nah, we're here too. We want to be in this mix for this playoff thing as well.
Yeah, you know, I wonder, the Big 12 race, this is one that absolutely is going to go a long way to just, I mean, Utah could very well end up playing that Texas Tech team again a second time. You know, we saw what Utah did to Arizona State, a diminished Arizona State with Jeff Sims at quarterback last week. But as far as the Big 12 race is concerned, like, this one matters as well for that, Cardale, talking about who's going to be in Dallas the first week of December.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, as we kind of already wrote off Texas Tech to pretty much sell into the Big 12 championship game, but you got teams like BYU, Utah, and a few others out there that's really making a strong bid to play these guys in the Big 12 championship game. I think Baylor and TCU plays this weekend, so a lot of things are going to shape up when you talk about that as well. So we'll see, but like you said, man, right now superior in that lead is Texas Tech. Then there's 4 or 5 other teams trying to figure out how they hang on the coattails of Texas Tech and have some relevancy in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, this game is a 3.5-point spread, is the Holy War. At the end of the day, it's going to be a situation where it's going to be a close game. It feels like these two teams always play each other close. Emory, it's almost reminiscent of a service academy game, right? These teams know each other so well, inside and out, recruit the same players, and are so close geography-wise that they just know each other inside and out.
It's funny because back in 2016, I called a women's tackle football game. It was an IWFL championship, and the Utah Falcons were in that championship game. So I went out to Salt Lake City, and you can clearly see a divide from Salt Lake BYU fans and Utah fans, even though BYU is in Provo, but there are BYU fans that live in Salt Lake City proper, and you see like the straight color line of, blue and red. It's crazy to see. So yes, the fact that they are close in proximity, they recruit the same player, they believe the same, religion, all of that kind of factors into why this game is so fascinating on the field.
It is one of the great scenes in college football, Holy War, Utah, and BYU. When we come back on the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show, we're going to give you a model play and some Friday parlays to get you into your college football weekend.
Blue.
Welcome back to the CBS Sports College Football Picks Show. Model play of the week has Colorado State minus 135, winning on the money line versus Hawaii in 71% of its simulations. The model is 4-3 through week 7 so far this season. But let me tell you something the model can't take into account. The model cannot take into account the Tokyo Toe. Kanze Matuzawa, the Japanese kicker that Hawaii has on its team, won him the game week 0 against Stanford, said he learned how to kick on YouTube, and he was more worried about speaking English at the press conference after the game than he was about kicking the kick in the week 0 spot where Hawaii got off the schneid and got to, I think Hawaii, to be honest with you, is a team that could absolutely push for a bowl game so far this season. So I got to disagree with the model here, Emory. I love the Bows in this spot.
Well, we know how coaches are. Like, I don't care if you speak hieroglyphics. If you make this kick, you can do what you want to do, right? I agree with you. I think Hawaii wins this ball game. I like how Micah Elahado has been playing recently. He has cut down the turnovers, which has helped them win a lot of these ball games. So they're right back on pace to get to a bowl game.
Yeah, well, I like Hawaii no matter what, guys. I don't care because of the best nickname in all of sports, the Tokyo Toe. I'm taking Hawaii. Matter of fact, I'm taking them to run the table because of that nickname, Tokyo Toe. You got a new friend.
Tokyo Toe is bringing them all the way to the show, apparently, from Cardale Jones' perspective. Yeah, I also think this Colorado State team, they got bigger issues. Jay Norvell, I think, is a hot seat candidate. And you look at the schedule that they played last year to get to that 8 wins, and you're just, it's a little shaky as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I like Hawaii in this spot. All right, let's get into some Friday parlays before we get out of here. And, look, we're trying to win you money on these parlays. How about this last week? I had a 4-legger for you guys last week, and one of the legs pushed. The Alabama-Missouri leg pushed. So it voided the parlay. It knocked it down from where it was, and it paid out a little bit less. But at the end of the day, it pays out because, look, this is CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. We're here to win you money. All right, let's start. Texas money line versus Kentucky is my first leg. Again, that's a little bit of an anchor for the parlay. It's one thing that we think is absolutely going to cash. We think Hook'em can beat Kentucky. Iowa -3 against Penn State. Cardale took that game earlier when we did blitz picks. I just like Iowa from a solidity perspective. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what razzle-dazzle Penn State is able to bring, and I do think they will bring some, right? Interim head, guys, what do you have to lose? Penn State saw that for themselves against UCLA. An interim head coach, not a new offensive coordinator, but an offensive coordinator kind of has a new lease on life, I think, in the job. And Andy Kotelnicki, I think they come out with some serious razzle-dazzle and they try to shock Iowa, but Iowa is just too solid, I think, in the end. Mark Gronowski, they can control that game and they can cover -3. Notre Dame -9.5 against USC. I'm not buying USC just yet. I think Notre Dame is doing the same thing that they did last year, where they're getting better over the course of the season. Yes, center Ashton Craig is going to be out for the long term here, but I do think Notre Dame is learning from their mistakes earlier in the season. CJ Carr, great signal caller for them. They have to go undefeated if they want to go to the college football playoff the rest of the way. So not exactly buying USC. My final leg, Oklahoma and South Carolina over 42.5. Guys, I know this is kind of a hard pick to make because both of these offenses, I think it's a stoppable force and a movable object, unfortunately. So it's going to be tough, but I just look at that 42.5 point number and I think, guys, that number is so low. I mean, come on. We have to be able to get over that number with these two teams. Maybe we get a defensive score in this game. Maybe we get overtime in this game. Who knows? I don't care how you do it, but at the end of the day, we're getting over that number.
Yeah, listen, my parlays are fun, guys. I had a FCS parlay last weekend. The last leg killed us at the end of the night. So we're going to make sure we win this one this week. So we got a 7-legger for you guys. We got Lindenwood at plus 26.5 versus Tennessee Tech. I know Tennessee Tech is a legit wagon right now, but Lindenwood has played great in all of their games, especially the ones versus FBS opponents. They won't get beat by 26.5 points. I look at Illinois State. Big fan of Brock Spack. I got them on the money line against Youngstown State, which used to be a powerhouse in the FCS. They're solid right now, but Illinois State is better. SIU, Southern Illinois, I have them plus 6.5 this week versus North Dakota. Their quarterback, DJ Williams, is legit dual threat star. Will be playing on Sundays. Weber State versus Portland State, pillow fight of the week, but Weber State is playing with those goose pillows. They have the better offense. They will score points. Merrimack plus 28.5. Watch how they played all their FBS games. They won't get beat by 28.5 points against Harvard, even though Harvard is phenomenal on offense. Colgate got them on the money line against Georgetown. Ain't playing around with the point spread. Dayton got them on the money line versus Butler. And look, plus 34-36. Guys, when we hit this, we're going to all drive around in our Model T Fords, dressed like Teddy Roosevelt, drinking number Crystal Pepsi. So let's make it happen.
You know what, Emory, this is amazing. Every week you do this. I just find the entertainment because you're so passionate about it, and it's crazy because I don't even know where some of these schools are. But I'm going to piggyback on it. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on that because I want that T4. But I have Washington plus 5 for my first leg of the parlay. Damon Williams Jr., first player in Washington history to go for 400 yards. Just went for 3 and 100 on the ground last week in a big win. And then A&M money line. A&M is playing some of the best defense of all of college football. And then I just still don't trust that Texas offense and that Texas whole team. And my ceiling for them is try to find a way to be 500 in the SEC. So I like your pick. Richard with Texas money line and winning this game, but I think UK will keep it close. So I'm taking UK with the points here. Plus 367, guys. We ain't driving around on T4, but maybe we could get, Uber for the week.
Man, Emory always got something for you about some Marinag. I don't even know. It's a great pick from Emory. It's a great parlay from Emory. Let's hope we cash. All right, our guy Brad Crawford is not here with us this week, but that doesn't mean we don't have his picks. Come on now. Brad Crawford been trying to win you money all season long on the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. He's got some good ones. Cardale, he loves your Michigan Wolverines, minus 5.5. I love his Vanderbilt play, minus 2.5. Brad is one of those guys who his picks have been so good so far this season that when I'm on the opposite side of him, I'm worried. I'm concerned. Like he's got the under in Oklahoma and South Carolina. I got the over. That's an issue. That's a concern for me, I feel. He's got Auburn plus 105. I got Missouri winning that game outright and covering the spread. I'm a little concerned because Brad has been so good this season. And then his parlay, Vanderbilt money line, Utah money line, Notre Dame money line, Cal money line, and Oklahoma money line pays out plus 589. It's a money line parlay from Brad Crawford. I think he saw those short spreads this week and said, you know what, I'm not doing it, and I'm not touching those short numbers. I'm taking money lines all day. Quickly, best pick from Brad, Emory, in your opinion?
Taylor Green plus 7.5, man. Stop sleeping. That's the number one quarterback prospect in this draft class, and people don't want to talk about it, but I'm here talking about it on CBS Sports. Cardale, he loves your Wolverines minus 5.5.
Whatever. I'm ignoring Brad on that thing because we agree on one thing. Utah minus 3.5. He got minus 3.5, but I got them with my upset and my underdogs for the week, so I'll take that one.
We appreciate it from Brad. We appreciate it from you, the viewers, as always. And I appreciate it when Emory Hunt and Cardale Jones join me, Richard Johnson, on the CBS Sports College Football Pick Show. We will see you next week.